The residents of the Arkansas River Valley are waking up to a landscape transformed by violence and ice. On the evening of May 8th, 2026, a series of explosive supercell thunderstorms tore through Sebastian County, dropping hailstones the size of hen eggs and baseballs on the city of Fort Smith. The storm, which peaked in intensity between 6 p.m. and 7:30 p.m., has left thousands of homes damaged, hundreds of vehicles totaled, and a community grappling with the sheer power of nature. The atmospheric setup on May 8th was described by meteorologists as a classic but extreme severe weather setup. A deep trough of low pressure moving from the Rockies collided with an exceptionally moist and unstable air mass, surging northward from the Gulf of Mexico. By mid-afternoon, the dry line in Oklahoma had sharpened, acting as a trigger for convective development. The Cape values, convective available potential energy, were off the charts, said Dr. Helen Richter, a senior meteorologist. We were seeing numbers above 4,000 joules per kilogram, which is essentially high-octane fuel for thunderstorms. When the cap finally broke, the updrafts were so strong, reaching speeds of over 100 miles per hour, that they could keep large ice pellets suspended in the freezing layer of the atmosphere for an extended period. That is how you get 2 to 3 inch hail. By the time the storm crossed the Oklahoma-Arkansas border into Fort Smith, it had developed a clear hook echo on radar, signaling not just the potential for tornadoes, but a massive hail core that appeared as a blinding white to purple mass on reflectivity maps. For those caught in the path of the storm, the experience was visceral. The sound, many said, was the most terrifying part. A low, rhythmic roar that sounded like a freight train of glass being dumped on the city. James Holloway, a 54-year-old resident of the Chaffee Crossing area, was in his garage when the first stones fell. It started with a few clinks on the metal roof. I thought it was just heavy rain. Then, within 30 seconds, it sounded like someone was taking a sledgehammer to the house. I saw a stone the size of a grapefruit bounce off my driveway and shatter a flower pot. I ran for the interior hallway. On Rogers Avenue, one of Fort Smith's busiest thoroughfares, the storm created a scene of pure chaos. Dozens of drivers were trapped in their cars as the hail began. I saw people trying to drive onto the sidewalk to get under the awnings of bank drive-thrus, said Maria Garcia, who was heading home from work. The ice was coming down so fast that you couldn't see the car in front of you. My windshield started spiderwebbing right in front of my face. I had to cover my head with a gym bag to protect myself from the glass shards. As the sun rose on May 9th, the true scale of the damage became visible. Fort Smith, often resilient in the face of Arkansas's volatile weather, looks like a construction zone. Preliminary assessments by the Sebastian County Emergency Management Office suggest that over 4,500 structures have sustained some form of damage. In neighborhoods like Fianna Hills and Hardscrabble, roofing contractors were already out at dawn. The impact of 2.5-inch hail is enough to punch through older shingles and even penetrate plywood decking in extreme cases. Siding on many homes looks as if it was peppered by a machine gun. Perhaps the most visible impact is on the city's vehicles. Local car dealerships reported devastating losses. At one lot, nearly 200 new vehicles were found with dimpled hoods and shattered sunroofs. For individual owners, the situation is equally grim. Local glass repair shops reported a backlog of over 2 weeks within hours of the storm's passing. The timing of the storm was particularly cruel for local gardeners and farmers. The lush green of early May has been shredded. Century-old oaks in Tannehill Park lost significant canopy as the ice acted like a frozen saw, stripping leaves and small branches. While it is too early for a finalized dollar amount, economic analysts suggest that the May 8th to 9th hail event across Arkansas could rank among the costliest in the state's history. When you have a direct hit on a population center like Fort Smith, the numbers escalate rapidly, says financial analyst Robert Chen. You aren't just looking at roof repairs. You are looking at insurance premiums rising, the strain on the supply chain for building materials, and the loss of business hours as people stay home to deal with the mess. Insurance companies have already deployed catastrophe teams, CAT teams, to the area, setting up mobile claims centers in parking lots to expedite the process for thousands of frantic policyholders. Authorities warn against out-of-state contractors who arrive unannounced. Always ask for a local license, check their Better Business Bureau rating, and never pay the full amount up front, warned the Fort Smith Police Department. Residents are urged to take high-resolution photos of all damage, roofs, cars, windows, and even the hailstones themselves, placed next to a ruler or coin for scale, before beginning any temporary repairs. Do not attempt to climb onto your roof if you are not trained. Hail-damaged shingles can be slippery and structurally unsound. As Fort Smith cleans up, meteorologists warn that the severe weather season is far from over. The jet stream remains in a position that could steer more storms into the Mid-South over the coming weeks. This is the reality of living in the river valley, says James Holloway, as he taped a plastic tarp over his shattered rear car window. The sky gives, and the sky takes away. We'll fix the roofs, we'll get new glass, and we'll be ready for the next one. That's just what we do here. A hailstone the size of a baseball, approximately 2.75 inches, falls at speeds between 44 and 72 miles per hour. When multiplied by the mass of the ice, the kinetic energy produced is sufficient to crack concrete and kill small livestock. In the Fort Smith event, the high wind speeds accompanying the storm, downbursts of 60+ miles per hour, added horizontal velocity to the ice, causing damage to vertical surfaces like siding and windows that would normally be protected by eaves. Historically, May is the peak month for hail in Arkansas. However, the frequency of significant hail, 2 inches or larger, has seen a slight upward trend over the last decade. This specific event on May 8th, 2026, will likely be studied for years due to the perfect synchronization of moisture, lift, and instability. Meanwhile, severe thunderstorms packing damaging winds and quarter-sized hail disrupted outdoor activities across central Florida on Friday evening, May 8th, 2026, as meteorologists warned of rising temperatures and continued instability heading into the weekend. The weather system prompted safety pauses for major regional events before clearing for the overnight hours. According to reports from Fox 35 and WESH 2, the storms produced winds exceeding 60 miles per hour and hail in Flagler, Marion, and Volusia counties. The adverse conditions forced the Welcome to Rockville Music Festival to pause for 2 hours, with organizers instructing fans to seek shelter until gates eventually reopened around 8:30 p.m. The first warning weather team at WESH 2 designated the period from 3 p.m. to 10 p.m. as impact weather, noting that while the tornado threat remained low, sea breeze interactions could still trigger volatile conditions north and east of Orlando. Forecasters indicated that similar patterns of heat and instability will persist through Saturday and Sunday. High temperatures are expected to reach the mid-90s throughout the weekend, with heat indices potentially climbing into the upper 90s. While Saturday morning will likely remain mostly sunny, isolated afternoon showers are forecast for the eastern side of the peninsula, particularly in Palm Coast and Daytona Beach. Mother's Day on Sunday is expected to follow a similar trend, starting with clear skies before a few northeast-moving storms develop in the afternoon. Meteorologists from the Fox 35 storm team noted that a frontal system arriving on Monday could provide more widespread rain to the region before drier conditions return by Wednesday. Festival organizers paused performances for about 2.5 hours and instructed attendees to seek shelter as storms moved through the area. Gates reopened later in the evening, and performances resumed with music continuing into early Saturday morning. Some fans left early because of the delay, while others waited out the storm. Rainfall totals exceeded 1 inch in parts of Volusia, Flagler, and eastern Orange counties. Lingering showers were expected to move out overnight, with drier and hotter weather forecast for Saturday.